There is so much people don't know about diabetes, but they think they do. And in this video, I'm going to be telling you what diabetes actually is, different from the common knowledge we know, and the different types of diabetes. So, what is diabetes? Diabetes is a group of metabolic disorders that results in high blood sugar levels or high blood glucose levels, and it results from insulin secretion or insulin action, or both the secretion and the action of insulin. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you four different types of diabetes, the four main types of diabetes, and we'll get to them one after the other, the early onset, the symptoms, and how it affects people. The first type of diabetes is type 1 diabetes, and it occurs when the body's immune system mistakenly targets its own cells. The immune system is supposed to protect you, but in this case, it is mistakenly targeting insulin producing beta cells in the pancreas. And the pancreas is that one thing inside our body that produces insulin that is supposed to allow sugar to be absorbed by our cells. It allows sugar to be passed through to our cells. So the beta cells inside the pancreas that is supposed to produce this insulin get attacked by your own immune system. And in cases like this, you find out that there's little or no insulin. So sugar is not being properly utilized, is not properly passed into your cells again. And the symptom of this is excessive thirst, frequent urination, and it requires lifelong insulin shots. Like you find out that people are taking insulin shots, and in another form of diabetes, they are not taking insulin shots. The one where you need insulin shots, because here, since the beta cells that are producing this insulin in the pancreas are already being targeted by your immune cells, you need external insulin so that the glucose that is entering your system can actually be utilized by your cells. It can actually be passed into your cells because insulin is needed to pass it through your cells. So in cases like this, people begin to need lifelong insulin treatment. And of course, exercise and diet plays a very good role in it. So in type 1 diabetes, it often starts at any age. Sometimes as an adolescent, it's already an issue because it is actually autoimmune dependent. It is more of an autoimmune problem than the next type of diabetes I am going to be mentioning. The second type of diabetes is type 2 diabetes, and this is non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus. And this one now has risk factors. The risk factors are poor diet, obesity, sedentary lifestyle, like you're always resting, you don't do any form of exercise, and then aging is a part of it, and family history. This has a lot of ties to genetic factors. So the onset of this type of diabetes is actually gradual. And people in their 40s are the people that begin to experience this type of diabetes, even though in our recent world, due to a lot of poor dieting and people eating all kinds of things, it's beginning to get seen increasingly in young people, but it is not as seen in young people as it is in old people. So the early onset, of course, it begins gradually. It's not like the one that comes around when you're an adolescent, except of course you eat all sorts of junks. And in diabetes type 2 diabetes now that is non-insulin dependent, it is when insulin becomes too much in your body, it becomes resistant. It's just a clear case of insulin resistance. And then, of course, you will start feeling blurred vision, and then it becomes a problem when there's frequent urination, your wound don't heal in time. Those are symptoms, and most of the times people are just placed on drugs that will help their insulin become more, sorry, not resistant in this case. Their insulin becomes more and more sensitive. So at the end of the day, glucose can actually be passed into their cells without obstruction. The third type of diabetes is the diabetes that is not even very much talked about. It is type 3 diabetes, and it is a condition of Alzheimer's and dementia where people begin to lose their senses all of a sudden. People that were not mad in their former life start behaving somehow. It's often said sugar in your blood means diabetes, sugar in your brain means Alzheimer's. So they call it sugar in the brain. it is still a type of diabetes where people can no longer process information properly. Like something that happened 20 years ago, they bring it into today and they bring that memory and they're acting it out, or something that is yet to happen, something they're preconceiving in their mind, they play it out into their reality of now. So people don't act well again. That is type 3 diabetes, and it's still seen mostly in people over 40, and it also begins gradually, just like type 2 diabetes that is non-insulin dependent. The fourth type of diabetes is gestational diabetes mellitus. A lot of times it's called pregnancy induced diabetes. So this is a type that only women suffer, and it happens around the onset of pregnancy. So the hormone from the placenta begins to make your insulin resistant, and the risk factors are, if you've had a family history of diabetes before and your diet is poor, it further makes you a very good candidate for this kind of diabetes. It often results in overweight babies, and then at the end of the day, there need to be a lot of antenatal care so that there will be no complication for the mother and the baby. It usually would resolve after delivery, but it puts you at risk of type 2 diabetes eventually. And then if you've had like gestational diabetes in one pregnancy before, the chances of you having it in another pregnancy is higher than somebody who have not had it before. So usually will resolve, like I said, after delivery, but it has to be watched out for because this can result in type 2 diabetes because there's a lot of genetic factor to this again. So this are the four types of diabetes, and in all the types of diabetes, there is one predisposing factor that is common to all of them, and that is overweight and poor diet. When people begin to eat anyhow, they begin to add weight, and before you know it, the more you're consuming that sugar, the more insulin will be needed to help that sugar get into your cell. The pancreas will be put on overdrive, and at the end of the day, it produces until the insulin is so much that it becomes resistant. It's there, but it's no longer doing its work. You now need external care to now begin to make your insulin sensitive. So it all boils down to what we eat. It comes down to our diet. If you can pay enough attention to our diet, we can curb at least 80 to 90% of metabolic problems. Stay tuned for more.